I say both for me.
Listen to him, you're saying he took the safe road. You're saying both.
You're not.
At least he's more honest with it, I think.
Hello and welcome to episode 17 of the Life Insurance Academy podcast. I'm your host, Austin Lope-Silvero, and I'm here with Chris Ball, Zach McElwain, and Roger Short. The LIA podcast takes you into the conversations of top producing life insurance agents so that you can level up your business. For episode notes and resources, visit liapodcast.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Life Insure Acad. We're also on YouTube, so make sure to check us out there. Just search Life Insurance Academy and subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. Finally, you can stay in the loop with text notifications of episode releases and resources. All you have to do is send the letters LIA to the number 82149. That's 82149 and a message with the letters LIA. Today, we continue our discussion on the best insurance carriers to have in your bag for telesales. Now, if you missed part 1 in episode 16, go back and take a listen. We talked about what we look for in carriers and their products when we sell over the phone, and then we gave an overview of 4 different carriers. In this episode, we'll be diving into 4 more carriers that are equally as great as the ones we covered in our last show. But Zach, how do these differ from last week's companies?
Well, the simple thing is with these 4 carriers, Austin, that we're going to mention today, they do require internet access for the agent to have in order to complete an application.
That means you got to use the Google machine.
You got to use the Google machine. Last week, we talked about some applications that you're able to take without internet access, and we were able to do completely over the phone. And the last one we finished up with was Great Western. And you may be thinking, well, when we talked about Great Western, you had to get on the computer for that as well. You did. You had to use the Google machine, but the My Enroller for Great Western does not require internet access. So you're able to do any of that, maybe pulling over on the side of the road between appointments, or if you had a disappointment and a client stood you up, you're able to pull over, make a phone call, and be able to complete an application over the phone, non-face-to-face, without having to be sitting at a desk or at your home office or in a office or in a call center with multiple screens open.
Yeah, there's so many different situations, both for the clients but also for the agents. It's good to have variety in your tool bag or in your carrier selection that you can offer to clients. So before we dive in, though, just remind us, what are the main things you're looking for in carriers for telesales?
The number one thing we're looking for is simplicity, man.
Simple, man. Keep it simple.
It's that KISS.
Simple for us, simple for the clients, simple for the company to process the business so we can have those simple commissions slide simply into our bank accounts.
Don't want these complicated steps. They don't need to solve CAPTCHAs. Is that what they call it, guys? When you're on a website, and is it called a CAPTCHA? CAPTCHA? Sounds like a bad guy from Super Mario Brothers.
Oh my gosh.
It's true, though.
CAPTCHA.
The CAPTCHA is going to get you. So you don't want any of that stuff. You want simple.
You have a Nintendo Switch?
I don't. I have an Xbox One. Well, here, let me clarify. My kids have an Xbox One, and I'm winking while I say that. Wink.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So
Right.
when you were
Classic
playing
Disney.
ColecoVision with Donkey Kong, do you even know? I'm dating myself, aren't I?
Yes.
Oh, never mind.
ColecoVision.
ColecoVision, yeah.
That sounds like
been
a...
something
Had a little
in Canada.
dial on the controller.
It
You had
did.
you had a little dial. And
Had a buddy
Donkey
who
Kong
had
was
one.
like it dominated.
ColecoVision. That sounds like a medical impairment. You got that ColecoVision?
That would definitely be a diabetic complication.
Well,
Yes, it
let's go ahead and dive into a carrier that might cover ColecoVision. Maybe not. Not sure. What's the first carrier we're discussing today?
Well, the first one we want to start off with is Prosperity Life. And Prosperity Life has a pretty unique process. They have, it seems like, every way in the world you can write an application with them, but they do limit
including
what
ColecoVision.
I don't know about that. But they limit the way you can write an application when it comes to non-face-to-face. So their product for non-face-to-face is the new Vista Voice, is what it's called.
Sounds fancy.
Yeah, doesn't it? New Vista. Sounds like a resort almost. The ages on that carrier, they cover you from anywhere from the age 50 up to age 80. And the coverage amount is as low as $1,500 up to $35,000 in face amount. They have a level, a graded, and a modified benefit. And one thing that's really unique about them is being able to sell them a non-face-to-face over the phone in some of these rural areas. They accept the Direct Express card. So that does keep options open, and a lot of times agents are limited on their ability to write that Direct Express business.
So, Zach, how do we write this?
Yeah, that's a great question, Austin. So this process is a slightly different than really any other one I've ever written before, because it is a hybrid application. So what that means is whenever we're looking at this plan, you're actually going to do half of it on an e-app and half of it on a voice signature app. So what that means is we're actually going to go to Aptical. And I know a lot of us are familiar with Aptical because they complete a lot of phone health interviews with a number of companies that we represent. But they actually have a website. And this is really cool. So we'll actually fill out all the basic information that we would for our proposed insured on a paper app or on a typical e-app, just as we would normally. And as we go through that there, when we get down to the signature section, it's actually going to generate the disclosure forms, which we need to send to our client. And it's going to generate a, what do they call it? It's the application ID number. So it's going to give you an application ID number and a phone number to call. So now all we do is dial that 1-800 number that they give you on the screen. We will select option 1 to complete the phone interview through Aptical. When they come on the line, all we have to do is give them that application number from that e-app. And one thing we can't forget here is once we do that, we have to click submit. So it closes it out. That way the Aptical interviewer can actually open it. But when they open it, they don't have to go through and type in, and you have to explain to them all their name and address and social, all that again, because you've already entered it in their website. We're kind of like doing half the interviewer's job for them to make it real simple. And so basically they go through the interview, they do a voice signature, and they confirm the payment with them. They let you know you're approved, and they confirm the beneficiaries, and boom, you're completely done. And the beauty about it, Austin, we don't have to submit anything at that point. It's all completed. You get a point of sale decision right there. The client gets a policy mailed out to them, and everybody's happy.
Is the point of sale decision given over the phone or through the online portal?
It's actually given over the phone, because the first half of that online portal is the e-app, which you'll actually submit part of that e-app, and it will just say pending or processing until you complete that phone interview. And at the end of that phone interview, that's when they're going to actually give you that approval over the phone, and they will confirm the price and the face amount with the client. But I'll tell you one thing that's really unique, and for all you new people out there that may have not written Prosperity, or may you want to put that in your bag and start learning about it and add that to your toolkit. What's really unique, and I know Chris, you've written a lot of Prosperity, but when you start that phone interview, they really drill down on the client, and they make sure that, hey, Mr. Chris, do you realize that by getting this Prosperity life insurance application that it's not saving you any money on your health insurance? And this is not sold with any health insurance plans, and you are not obligated to get this plan, and blah, blah. Like, they really drill down to make sure people aren't, using this as an add-on policy of some sort to slide it in there with another product they're trying to sell. So I thought that was really unique, because I've never really dealt with that before. I never have to worry about it because I never try to do anything sketchy. But that's one thing to prepare your client for if you're doing your first interview with Prosperity.
Awesome. What that does is it keeps agents from using the call as a close tool too. You know what I mean? Like a lot of agents, they get lazy, and one of the bad habits, and we've talked about this before, is that you get lazy and you start using the telephone interview to close your sale, and that's not the right way to do it. And so,
how does that go, Roger? Well, let's just see if we get you qualified first.
Yeah, and then we can talk about whether you want it or not. Wrong approach, bad idea. So that prevents that. So I like that about it. So even though they're asking questions, it does put a qualifier on that you are moving forward with an application for life insurance, correct? Yes. Okay, good.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
In terms of preparing, last week we talked about a few carriers that have some very formal disclosure agreement, important information documents. Does Prosperity have any of those that you have to go over?
You need to send the disclosures to your client. Make sure you send them the buyer's guide. Make sure you send them the disclosures form so they have all of that. Because they will ask that on the interview to make sure that your client is getting all the proper information sent to them in their email. So that's not a big deal, but they will ask about that. So that's always standard as far as that goes.
Does the client have to have email?
The client does not have to have email, because when you're doing, like I said, they're qualifying you through a voice signature, so they don't have to open anything up. But if your client does have email, you can send them the disclosures that way, or you can send them to their smartphone. Usually they just have those, and that's not an issue. You just need to make sure you get them to them.
Okay.
I think the point of sale is part of that keeping it simple process. You're not chasing things down. You know immediately whether the client qualifies or not, and you're able to move on and not follow up on or get stuck in the mud following up on decisions that aren't finished, that are stuck in underwriting for whatever reason, and then trying to pivot to a different carrier on another call because this one didn't work out. So point of sale, I think, is the simple process. So I like Prosperity. It moves up very high in the fact that they don't have to click on anything. You can literally text the documents and they can open them up and overview them, and you can explain them while they're looking at them. And the other thing I like about Prosperity that we didn't quite hit on here is their website is super user friendly. I mean, they have resources with all the documents that are simple to access. You can actually get through Optical to through their website. So it takes you to a login screen. So I always log into the website because that's typically where I'm going to do the rate calculation too. But it's cake. It's probably one of the easiest processes that I've gone through and writing a client up.
Yeah, one of the things that I like about Prosperity is the fact that you are in control of that data entry on the front end.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't feel like you're putting them on the phone for like a 15-minute call, reviewing all the same stuff that you already reviewed. And it shortens up the telephone interview, puts more control to the agent. So the Hybrid Applications Act, the cool thing about it is that, yes, you are doing the work of the data entry person. And so when they get it, the app, other than just the disclosures and the voice authorization agreement and the HIPAA disclosure agreements, all those things is almost done. And so it makes it very simple. I like applications that allow you, the agent, to keep control of the process longer. What's
the underwriting profile for Prosperity? Who can they cover?
Well, they're pretty standard. And when I say standard, I'm talking about the heart attack, strokes over 24 months. The typical underwriting is going to be similar to your Mutual of Omahas, to your Columbians. It's not really designed for a niche product. This could be a product that you could write all your business with or majority of your business with. So when you look at that, one thing that's very unique with Prosperity is how they view tobacco use. So on their application, if you're using any form of tobacco other than cigarettes, so you could be vaping or anything else, then they consider that as a non-tobacco rate. So when you are dealing with sometime in the new age of people that are vaping and having these massive, cloud contests or whatever these kids are doing these days, That was a Chris line there. But, every other carrier is going to view that as a tobacco rate, and the rates are going to be quite more expensive, especially if it's a male, and especially if they're in their 60s or 70s, where Prosperity would be by far the best option for them, because all of those people would be non-tobacco.
Zach, am I right in saying that I believe on the application it asks, do you smoke cigarettes?
That is correct.
That's the first time I've ever seen that.
They're only concerned with cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
I know, Chris, you mentioned a few things that you liked about Prosperity. Do you all have any other personal anecdotes, stories, tips, best practices with them?
The one thing I like about Prosperity is they seem to be flexible when I need it to be flexible. When I have a situation, like I said, with a client making a payment through a direct express card, a lot of times we're very limited on what we can do there. So we can do a non-face-to-face app with a direct express card, and it's not going to take a year to do it, because sometimes if you're doing a complete voice application, that can take quite a long time, because the interviewer is gathering every bit of information from your client after you've already gathered every bit of information from your client. And then and sometimes a full e-app can take a long time, depending on your client's ability to get in and finagle their email and sign. So it's kind of like the best part of a phone app to speed things up, and the best part of an e-app is we're entering the information kind of crammed in one, with the flexibility to write non-tobacco for anything other than cigarettes, and a direct express card, and setting it up through Social Security billing. It really makes it a great option that could save you a lot of time and be really easy to add to your toolkit.
Awesome. And to our listeners, if you have any questions regarding Prosperity, if you need any of the resources we talked about, or if you're looking for a contract to add this to your tool belt, just go ahead and go to the show notes page, and we'll have all the information there to get you connected with that information. All right. Who's the next carrier?
I think next up we've got American Amicable / Occidental.
AKA.
They're marketed under several companies, but they're most broadly known as the original Alico company, and American Amicable Life Insurance and Occidental Life Insurance Company. So they were a great company. They're very personable, out of Texas and Waco, Texas, and you can talk to those people. They have two really good products. Senior Choice, which is a final expense product, 50 to 85, and they market their final expense product, I think, under a couple different names for different organizations, but for all intents and purposes, we're going to stick with the term Senior Choice here for their final expense product. And then they have a Family Choice option. So for 0 to 49 on the Family Choice, 50 to 85 on the Senior Choice, slightly different underwriting on each. We're going to focus on the Senior Choice product for the purposes of this Telesales final expense podcast today, but they can do as low as $2,500 in face amount, up to $35,000 up to age 75, and then up to age 85 they'll go to $20,000. They do have a graded and modified plan. They call theirs a return of premium, not to be confused with return of premium term insurance for mortgage protection, but a return of premium, meaning that that third tier product or third level product on their application, immediate, graded, and then the third one being a return of premium or modified, that goes up to a maximum of $20,000. So they have three products on one application. They do have some really cool features in terms of the fact that they're one of the most robust when it comes to additional riders that are available. They have the no-cost terminal illness and confined care rider that's included on the immediate benefit, and then optional riders. They have like an accidental death benefit rider you can add, a grandchild rider you can add, a children's insurance agreement for people that are between 50 and 60 who may have kids that are under the age of 25 that they want to get covered. And then they also have a waiver of premium for nursing home care. So they have some probably one of the most robust as far as riders go, additional benefits. A couple of other features on that product I would say are they have really good tobacco rates. So if you're in a tobacco-heavy state, like the state of Kentucky, where we hail from, this product is a great fit for a lot of clients who may use tobacco, including cigarettes. And they do accept, however, occasional pipe and cigar use. So they're, as far as, in a comparison to Prosperity, vaping, dipping, chewing, that would be considered tobacco here. They will accept pipe and cigar as non-tobacco, but everything else would be considered tobacco rates. But their tobacco rates are really good. They do offer true Social Security billing, so you can select, the first or the third of the month or the second, third, or fourth Wednesday, and you designate that by adding S to the end of, like 2S, 3S, 4S, and that will actually align it with Social Security. That's really important for telesales and placement and persistency. Another cool feature about them is the fact that you can add additional comments at the end of your application. There's a space there, so if there's any additional things that might pop up, it allows you the window to put in additional comments. Most carriers do this, but a unique feature about the American Amicable process is that even after you submit, so when they pull up the script check and the MIB report, if there's some scripts or prescriptions that come up that could be, kind of go one way or the other, they're going to ask you about those, and then you can actually write in notes and comments like, yeah, they used to take it, they don't take it anymore. And so that's a really cool feature. The ability to add comments is a great little feature. And then probably one of the best.
Now that's after they've already submitted the application, right?
Yeah.
So if there's something you might not even be aware of, you're able to add those comments. That's really cool.
Yeah. It'll come back. It'll push back to you and say, here's what the script check found, and it'll pull up 3 or 4 prescriptions that may be in the database that could be a conflict if they're taking it today for a specific impairment. But if you answer no to all the questions, and then you can indicate that prescription was for something else, and here's why, and you can write the notes. Yeah, it goes straight through. So I got a couple great stories that I can share about that also. One of the best things, Austin, that I like about this product, especially for new agents, okay, is they have one of the best agent guides of all the companies that we deal with. So for new people, when you come into the business, one of the things that is hard to navigate is where all the information, where do I find all this information? Like, it gets overwhelming. And so some companies, if you're a captive agent, you have one company. So you have one line of products to get used to. Sometimes you may be with an IMO that only promotes 1 or 2 companies because they get the most commission, or they have a relationship with that carrier and they're trying to push most of their business that way. And so you only have 1 or 2 to learn. But as an independent agent, if you're listening and you want to have the best products and the best rates at all times available to your clients, sometimes it can get overwhelming where you find all the information. American Amicable, Occidental has the best agent guides, including at the end. So not only will it cover like everything, like this is the benefit amounts, this is how you do it, this is how the application process works. At the end, they will even include prescription and health impairment indicators. So there's pages in the back of their guides that list all of these red meds. That's just a term. I'm doing air quotes for red meds. And red meds mean meds that could indicate an impairment, or it might not. And so you can actually just look at the impairment guide and see, well, if they're taking it for this, it'll say it's graded. But if they're taking it for this, it's a level immediate benefit. And you can know without having to try to figure out hieroglyphics that this client still will be approved for this product. And then the impairment guide, I mean, some of these things, if you're a new agent, you're coming in, do you know what a transient ischemic attack is? I didn't when I started, right? As a new agent, when you're coming in and you see all these different health impairments, you don't know what they are. In the back of that AMAM guide, you can go back there and look. It'll state the impairment. It'll state, when was it treated last, or what's going on, and which benefit with American Amicable or Occidental that they qualify for. It makes it really, really easy for new agents, all agents really. I keep them handy all the time.
All right, so what does that application look like?
Their application, when I first started with them, was a paper app only, but they've evolved a lot in the last 10 years. And so now they have this beautiful e-application that they have available, and it is super simple. And as of the as of this episode today, the release of this episode today, an announcement is coming out stating that, and I got this from an inside source.
We know a guy who knows a guy.
We know a guy. I've got a guy. And he communicated to me that today they're releasing voice signature for American Amicable. And voice signature is going to be available now. So you have three ways: paper app, an e-app, and on the e-app you can do click to sign if you're face-to-face, or you can do send an email. They have to open it up and send it back. And now they're going to have voice signature. So they kind of moved up, like when they came out with this announcement, because I think some of the debate that we're having is what is easier for most clients. And I think most of us would agree. I hope you guys would agree that, or I think you do, that the less tech that we require of our clients, the better. And some companies require tech, and so they only want tech-savvy clients. But in our space, there's a lot of people who are just not familiar with how to get on the interweb and the Google machine and figure stuff out. And so the fact that they just added a voice signature, Austin, just kind of shot them up near the top. So we could have covered them last week, now. So this is not just an exclusive e-app anymore. So yeah, they have
both options. So really, whatever you prefer, and I'm sure we'll get into that debate. But if you prefer the e-signature, you can certainly do that. If you prefer the voice signature, you can certainly do that. And the cool thing is, it's with the same product and the same company.
Yeah, they're as far as the process goes, the e-app is simply at insuranceapplication.com. And you will set up your initial authorization. They'll give you a password for that based on your agent number. Once you get that set up, you just go to insuranceapplication.com. It's probably one of the easiest e-apps ever. It's like a mirror of their paper app, which is like a 1 or 2 page app. So it's really, really easy. Did you have a comment?
It doesn't even look like an e-app to me. It looks like a digital paper app.
Yeah.
It's really unique looking.
Yeah. It's super simple. They do require an email address for the e-app. But now that they're offering voice signature, I'm eager to see the actual communication. The communication's coming out today, but I'm eager to see that, whether they're going to give you the option to complete it on the e-app and then just do the voice signature authorization without them having to send anything back, or if it's a paper app and you can also use the voice signature. So I'm not sure. We'll see when that announcement comes out, but they, for the email, the e-signature process, they do require an email, and I will say that it's one of the easiest ones. So a lot of our carriers will have, you'll be required to submit an email authorization early in the e-app where they sign to release MIB and script check and stuff for their HIPAA disclosures. And then while you're completing the rest of the app, they're running those things in the background, and then they're required to sign another one at the end. With American Amicable, it's just one simple signature at the end. It's you send it, they say, I got it, and you literally hear it ding on their side. They open it up, just say, go to the bottom, hit accept, and hit submit. And they do that, and bam, it's right back in your box, and you get the little indicator that it's ready to submit. The cool thing about their e-app is at the top, there's just 5 sections. And as soon as they turn green, completed, you're good to go and send that off.
We are go for launch.
Yeah, and you do get a point of sale decision. So that's the cool thing, too.
Another big win.
Yeah, I just did one this past week and submitted it, and within a minute, a notification's up on the screen saying the client's been approved for the immediate benefit. I did another one for the spouse, and they had some additional questions to ask about their prescriptions. And so I answered no to those. Then I gave the explanation in the notes, hit submit. The next day, the policy was approved. So it's you do get a point of sale decision one way or the other, saying it's sent off for final approval, or if it's approved, which is a great thing, because as an agent, you want to know, where do we go from here? You don't want to be just left in limbo. As a reminder for this product, the telephone interview currently is required on the e-app only if your client is 71 or older, or if they're not found in the prescription database, or if the payer is other than the proposed insured. So those are a couple little caveats where a telephone interview is required for the e-app. It's a super simple process, really easy, short. It's not complex. It's probably one of the easiest e-apps I think that we have available to us.
Who do you write it for? What's the underwriting?
They have, I would say, a good standard underwriting. They're not really restrictive, but they don't necessarily really have these super, tight niches where they're great to use all the time. I would say they have really good smoker rates. They're standard in their underwriting. They, as your clients get older, this product becomes really, really price competitive across the board and even cheaper in some instances as your clients approach that 79, 80, 81, 82. So really competitive on older ages and really good smoker rates.
And earlier, Roger, you mentioned a couple stories. You mind sharing what that experience was like with AMAM?
Sure. Well, first of all, one of the reasons I went with American Amicable on this one, it was because it was a Saturday, I believe, or Friday night. I can't remember, one of those, but I was concerned about the hours. like all these different call centers on the voice apps, you have to be within the call hours in order to be able to do the application. And so I was approaching, I was within 45 minutes of the call centers being closed, and I had a husband and wife. And so I went with American Amicable because it allowed me to stay in control of the process, go on past that time, and not worry about the call center hours. And I was able to qualify the clients. They were in their early to mid 60s, and they were, they could easily function with receiving email and sending that back. They were proficient with texting, and so I was able to send them the things that I needed and send them a link of our website and information. And then so I knew that they got all that. And then that allowed me to be able to move forward with this e-application process. But the fact that he was approved right away and I was able to give them both the decision, that got them excited right away as soon as that e-app was approved. And then when we completed hers, the additional questions popped up. And I said, so here's what's coming back. And so it allowed me to be able to stay in control of the process, still not have to wonder or worry or call in next week, be able to answer those questions immediately, and then write my additional notes. And I verified and confirmed the answers with the client. And she said, yes, that's all correct. I said, great, I'm going to hit submit. And then it said, your application is now in process for final approval. And the next day, I get up and check the website on the e-file, and sure enough, it was approved. So just a really streamlined, super easy process that allowed me to stay in control for pretty much everything except the one, open the email, accept, send. Again, like I said, it was probably the simplest e-app that we have, and I was able to write it past the call center hours. So it worked out great.
Great. Thanks so much, Roger. And to our listeners, again, if you need more information on American Amicable or Occidental or whatever they operate under in your state, go to the show notes, fill out the form, and we'll get you your information. All right. Who's next up?
So next up, we have United of Omaha with their Living Promise Whole Life Final Expense product. And I know Mutual of Omaha, if any of you all are familiar with them, they have a large product line that fits all demographics of clients. But the one I want to talk about here is their final expense product that we are able to do as a non-face-to-face application. So this application covers clients in the age of 45 to 85, or if you're looking at the graded benefit for them, it's 45 to 80. They do have two products, so it is the level benefit with immediate day one coverage, and then they have the traditional graded benefit that has the premiums plus 10% in the first 24 months of the policy. One thing's really unique for Mutual of Omaha in this product here of Living Promise is the price is extremely competitive. They're one of the lowest price in the market, especially for their graded benefit plan. And you don't really hear that very often, that a company has a very competitive graded benefit plan, but they're one of the cheapest ones that we see out there either way. So that actually is attractive, because if your client happens to fall into that category, it would really benefit them to look at this product as well. You can get up to $40,000 for the level benefit and up to $20,000 on the graded benefit side. And for the non-face-to-face telesales application, this is going to be an electronic application. So it's going to be an e-app completely over the phone, or not over the phone, excuse me, completely over the internet. So they do have a paper app if you're going to see people and clients, but for non-face-to-face, obviously, through coronavirus, we are not able to do that. So the e-app is going to be our option here. To get to the e-app, we're just going to go to Mutual of Omaha's website. We're going to log into our agent portal like we normally do, and we're just going to select the e-application, and we're going to start filling it out. Their e-app is actually through iPipeline, which, if you've been into the industry, you will be very familiar with iPipeline. I know other carriers such as Foresters and a couple other products use iPipeline, and it works very well. You'll simply start a new application. Now, one thing that I will say slightly different and unique with Mutual of Omaha's e-app versus a few other e-apps is they actually have a two-step signature process. And the two-step signature process allows you to send an email to a client. Yes, Austin, that you have to have an email for this product. Your client has to have an email address. They have to be tech savvy, and they have to be able to access the email. So whenever you open this product and you go through the initial disclosures, you're going to send your first email to the client. They will pull it up on their email address, read the disclosures, and then they will click I agree and apply their e-signature. And once that sends it back saying it's been signed, now it will unlock the rest of the e-app. And this is going to be the health questions. This is going to be, the banking information, the pay information, essentially the rest of the e-application. Now, the reason they want to get that first signature and those authorizations is because during the rest of the e-app, it is already running the MIB and the prescript check in the background. So it can, in an attempt to really speed up this application, so once you finish the e-app, boom, you actually have a decision right there at the end of the e-app. But before that happens, you have a second signature. Once the e-application is finished up, you will send that email to the client through iPipeline. They will open it up. And here's one thing that's a tiny bit tricky is they have to open up and review the buyer's guide. They have to open up and review the application before it will allow them to click I agree and apply their e-signature. So whenever you do that, you get a little green note at the bottom that your client has been approved for the level benefit, and you get excited. There's no phone interview. So if you have some clients, Austin, that get anxious on the phone interviews or don't want to have to worry about that, you can just simply talk to them the whole time and walk them through this e-app process and get them approved without having to do a three-way call or any interviews or answer questions about medications other than the ones that I'm going to ask them.
One thing that you mentioned, if I remember back to one of our webinars, is on their e-app, green does not always mean approved. It means that it went through, right? At the very bottom, it could have a green box, but it's the text within that box that tells you what happened.
Yeah,
and then
yes.
red is it didn't get submitted. So just be aware of that.
Yes, for sure. And one thing, you'll get one of three decisions, or maybe four. You'll see they're approved for level, they're approved for graded, they are sent to underwriting, or they are declined. That's what you're going to get there. So you will see that on the e-app. That's one thing I like about this is you're going to get some sort of indication at the end of it. The one thing I wish that they would adjust or change on this application would be the two different email signature process. And that can be very difficult for clients, especially that maybe aren't tech savvy, or clients that aren't super familiar with just standard email, because instead of just clicking it and opening it up, in e-signing, they have to open up separate documents, and a lot of times you have to walk the client through turning off pop-up blockers and certain web browsers, because e-application and that signature process can be a little sensitive to the actual web browser the client's using, and this can cause some frustration and some delays on the client side, and which translates to a little bit on our side as well. So when you really see who the Mutual of Omaha e-application is for, it's for your either proficient, tech-savvy client, or it's going to be a younger client that it's not really going to be an issue for. But if you have anybody that is getting up there in age that may have some sort of complications with the internet or e-signature process, or if they're just doing this on their phone, this is not an application I recommend for them to pull up on their phone to sign, because of the extra pop-ups, and you have to read and scroll to even click I agree. That can be very difficult. So
the difference, Zach, between the first signature that you send out early for the HIPAA disclosures and then the one at the end also they operate a little differently, because those signatures at the back end give you the additional documents that they have to review. Like you said, it gives you the life insurance buyer's guide, the disclosure, like you have to review the application, and those are popping up in separate windows. Then they have to know, okay, Mr. Smith, you have to scroll all the way to the bottom. Then when you get to the bottom, you have to say review, open that, and then you close it, and then you have to say
close
accept.
it.
You have to close it, then you have to accept, then you submit. Like it seems like it's a little bit extensive, and they probably could make it easier. But if you have someone who is proficient with email and opening up documents, it's not an issue. So you have to determine your client for sure on this.
Yeah, and like I said, with this product, if I have somebody that maybe I'm competing with a price, or somebody that's just in a really good health, and I want to give them one of the best rates in the market, and email's not an issue, this is going to be a really super fast online, non-face-to-face application that we can breeze through, get the signatures done, and they have one of the most competitive rates in the market, and the policy's approved, it's mailed out, it's super awesome and smooth. But I will caution some speed bumps. Like Roger said, if your client isn't super tech-savvy, this is not the most friendly e-application for that.
Are there any other underwriting restrictions that might hold this product up for some clients?
This is going to be just like the last few carriers. It's going to be very standard when it comes to underwriting. Nothing jumps out. They are very friendly with aneurysms that have been repaired, where a lot of other carriers aren't. But other than that, they're extremely friendly as far as the cancers, the heart attacks, strokes, all that's going to be your standard 2 years. So it's very common like the other carriers.
Yeah, you don't want to get into any questionable gray areas. I know, Chris, you've had some issues with nitro type medications or things like that, blood thinners, I believe.
Yeah, blood thinners for specifically like atrial fibrillation. They'd consider that existing treatment.
Mm-hmm. So there's this is going to be for your healthier client, healthier profile, proficient technology, email savvy. Yeah.
And their underwriting is very straightforward. If they're taking certain medications, it's going to fall into a graded category or no coverage. If they're not, it's going to fall into a level. So there's not a big discrepancy for that. You kind of understand where they're going to view this application. There's not a whole lot of bouncing back and forth and getting doctor's letters. They're not as open to that as some carriers are.
One of the really cool things that they did this past year is that they reworked their graded plan and lowered their rates dramatically to match their direct-to-market product that they send out in the mail. So people can actually buy a Mutual of Omaha product with a 2-year graded benefit period through the mail, and there's no agents involved. They just kind of sign up and send it in. We now have access to that same rate at that low price that beats pretty much anything out there on the graded side. So if you, like Zach said earlier, if you do have a client that has some health impairments and they can answer those 2 or 3 questions that, and get through those 2 or 3 questions that Mutual of Omaha asks for their graded plan, you're not going to beat it. It's going to be one of the lowest price in the market. And it's super easy. They don't have a tobacco rating on the graded, so the price is coming in super low. It's a great thing that they did. So they have one of the lowest priced level benefit products out there, day one coverage, and they have probably the lowest priced 2-year graded benefit plan products on the market. So it's a winner in that category for sure.
A lot of agents will use this as their number one go-to carrier simply because their rates on their level benefit are right top notch, and their rates on their graded benefit are right top notch. And their branding and marketing and history, it's an extremely easy product to sell.
Any other thoughts or tips on Mutual of Omaha?
One thing I want to say about American Amicable and Mutual of Omaha is they also have great non-face-to-face sales options for mortgage protection plans. Very affordable and simple e-apps that you can connect with your clients and get some pretty quick decisions.
Awesome. So if you need more information on Mutual of Omaha or any of the carriers we've talked about today, again, hit the show notes, lipodcast.org/EP17. And we'll have a form there where you can actually go through and just checkbox all the carriers or topics you want information on, and we'll send that over to you. All right, guys, final carrier we're covering in the best insurance carriers for telesales. Who is it?
Yeah, we're going to talk about Columbian Financial Group, and I'm going to come at it with some energy because I want to match Alan Towns, but I did not drink 17 cups of coffee. There's a shout out to you,
Alan. There's a shout out.
That's right. We do appreciate Alan's work on this, and all our reps, like you said, Roger. I mean, we've had some great conversations and great relationships, and Columbian Financial Group has been a company that has stepped up, man. And both their products for their final expense and their mortgage protection. Their final expense product, which we'll dial in here a little deeper, is their Dignified Choice, and Safe Shield is their mortgage protection. But as far as the profile, Dignified Choice has three levels to their final expense plan. It is an elite level, which sounds really cool. You qualified for the elite level. I think there's some reasoning behind naming it that, and it is.
Do you have to be athletic to qualify for that one?
You do. No. It's their top level benefit, day one coverage, and you have to be pretty healthy to qualify for that product. There's another level benefit that's called the select level. And again, I believe in their final section, you can answer yes to some health questions there to still qualify for a level benefit like some of our other carriers. And then finally, they do have a graded product that's called the Advantage benefit, and it's this Advantage product is 106% of premiums paid over the first 2 years. Day one of the 25th month, they'd qualify for the level benefit. Issue ages for their final expense product is 18 to 85. So if you have some folks under 40 who have some minor health issues that you feel like you might have an issue of getting them qualified, and maybe they've gotten through some time frames that you didn't expect, that we typically wouldn't run into very often, where maybe they had a heart attack 3 years ago, 2 years ago, then you can still get them a level benefit if they're under 40. So all the way down to age 18. So 18 to 85, and the face amount goes up to $35,000. $35,000. So a good face amount, and it's got some options for some younger folks.
So it sounds like they cover a lot of people. How do you apply for this product?
Great question. So, and this is one of the adaptations that has been really cool. Columbian actually has always been kind of one of my favorite paper applications, because it only required, I think, 1 or 2 signatures. It's only a 2-page application. It's always been really cool. They've had a cool
They've put it all on those 2 pages, haven't they?
They do, don't they? Like, you're writing small, man. You got to
You
cram it in
can't draw
there.
a smiley face anywhere on that application.
Yeah, that's the truth, man. So it's
Maximize the real estate.
Simple application. Their e-app, they've had some cool technology involved in that shares some MIB information. But now this just in, I don't have the cool noise. Who does the cool noise?
Beep, 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 beep.
Oh, there we go. They have an e-app. Well, I'll just say it this way. They have a no e-signature telesale option. So it would be a voice signature. Let's call it that, a voice signature option for their applications. And this is the cool part. It's not just for e-apps for the tech-savvy people. It is also a voice signature for people who love paper. So paper applications, it's a voice signature as well. So I'm going to give you some deets, as the kids say, the deets on this, or the details on this. So hopefully you've got your crayons and your pencils. So
What? Sorry, your what?
He said crayons, but he said cranes.
crayons, man. That's how you say it in Michigan. Crayons, right?
Crayons? Crayons.
Crayons.
Oh, crowns.
What?
Like the
I don't even know what
colored
words you're
wax.
saying, guys.
Colored
Cray-
wax.
Crayons. There we go.
Crayola? Crayons.
Yes.
All right, we have our writing utensils ready.
Yes, you need your writing utensils, guys. Good.
How do you say colored pencils?
Uh,
My family used to call them lead
Got 'em.
pencils. Like something else. But
Lead
it's a lead
pencils?
pencil?
wow. Yeah.
What are we writing down, Chris?
Okay. So the process for this telesale voice signature is you will complete the application, whether it's on paper or e-app. It's completely up to you how you do that. You can fill in the information, and on the paper application, you would write voice signature where the client would sign. And then you can call a phone number. And when you call this number, it's not going to be like a typical voice application, like let's say Liberty Bankers or something like that. There's going to be nobody else on the line except you and the client, and it will begin a recording process. You will enter your cell phone number, and once you've entered your cell phone number, you actually have a script that you will read to the client, and this script is included in their telesales procedure guide. And if you need that, you can reach out to us. I'm sure Austin can hook a brother and a sister up with the goods. Right, Austin?
Yes, in the show notes.
In the show notes. You sound so professional, and then I just bring it down to the street. Right? So
Now, with that being a recording, Chris, you're not limited on hours to call, right?
that is a great point. No, you can call 24/7. So
Chris books appointments for 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m.
Yes. Well, you never know, man. I mean, you may have a truck driver who's getting in late, the guy who makes the donuts, whatever. Yeah, man, I'll do an app at 1
Guy who
a.m.
makes the donuts.
I'm not afraid. So you can call
Say
this
you're
number.
scared. Say you're scared.
That's right. You can call this number and you read the script, and it's basically confirming that they're agreeing to this application, and you've completed it. It's that simple, whether it's paper or through e-app, which
And
is
that script
pretty
is
cool.
right on the paper app, and it's also on the e-app, right? It's there, and you just read it,
Right.
and they just say yes or no.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at this telesales procedure guide, and it walks you completely through it. So it would say, Mr. Short, I need to verify the following. Please state your full name and today's date. Please state your date of birth and your last four of your social security number or tax ID. Is it your intent for this recording to represent your signature? So it's got 10 points here roughly. It looks like it's a couple of pages, but once you've read all of that, you've completed the call, and then the application's complete. Now, once the application's complete, you will receive a text message saying they received the application. You insert your agent number and the client's name, and you're done. And now, in full transparency, if there's a side to this, it's that there's not an instant decision. So you're still waiting for underwriting to review this and make sure. Now, in saying that, I will say Columbian has a phenomenal agent guide, and it has a full medication list that you can go through to review.
They're also really good to talk to. You just call them up. They can
Absolutely.
You can add comments and notes. And so again, a super friendly, super easy company to do business with, even after the submission.
Who do they cover? What's their underwriting profile?
As far as underwriting profile, it is a pretty standard product. I'd put it right there, shoulder to shoulder with Mutual of Omaha and maybe American Amicable as far as rates and prices. Again, it does have you can write folks who are 18 all the way up to age 85. If you're talking to clients who are 60 or 70 and you're trying to get them a level benefit and they are perfectly healthy, to qualify for the elite product, they will have had to see their doctor within the last 5 years. So they'll want to make sure that they're getting checkups. I think that's important to them. Not somebody who says, I never go to the doctor, I'm perfectly healthy, and they don't know that they're maybe not perfectly healthy because they haven't had a checkup in 20 years. Mm-hmm. So in order to qualify for elite, you'll need that information. Otherwise, it will be a select product, which is still a level benefit. Also, you'll need the doctor's information to include in the application. One other great side to this, as far as underwriting, and Roger had alluded to this, is if you have some dual purpose medications that can be a little tricky, they're fantastic to give you the option of putting that information into the application, whether it's the paper application or the e-app. You can say this client takes this water pill for swelling in their legs. There's no history of congestive heart failure, and that just moves things along quicker in the underwriting process.
I will say, Chris, that as far as the doctor requirement, like that can be a little clinic. They might have gone into a little
Correct.
clinic and saw somebody for a flu, and they got maybe got a Z-Pack or something like that. And as long as you have that information, you can provide that's acceptable. They just want to know that your client is seeing someone.
Yep.
All right. Well, again, if you need more information on Columbian Financial Group or would like to get contracted, hit the show notes, lipodcast.org/EP17, and we'll be happy to connect you with that. Before we wrap up for today, I do want to ask one final question, because I know in the preparation for this episode and the previous one, there's been a little bit of debate of what's the best process or application type for telesales. I'm going to let you all duke it out here.
I have appreciated the prosperity process because it's been very, very simple. Now, to say that, there have been some game changers with these announcements over the last 2 weeks as far as what carriers are working towards to be able to simplify the processes, but prosperity has been a breeze, man. And even on those phone interviews, they've been very patient with the client as far as Aptical working with them. So I've loved the prosperity process.
Now, Chris, that's not fair, because we're talking about doing a phone app or an e-app, and you go right to the product that is absolutely both at the same time.
Correct. Hybrid app. Yeah.
That's true.
So
Columbian has
both.
the hybrid app too now.
Right.
I mean, it's the same, right? I mean, we just haven't used it yet because it was just released.
Right.
Yeah. I say both for me.
Listen to him,
you're saying he took the safe road. You're saying it's both.
Hey, you're not.
At least he's more
not,
honest with it, I think.
You're not letting me. You're not letting me finish. You're not letting me finish. So I say,
for any fans of "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" This is where Everett and Delmar are looking at Pete, and he says, "Whose side are you on?" He goes, "I'm with you, fellers."
Yeah.
There you go.
For me, I would say I really like doing a simple. If my client is perfectly healthy, perfectly ready to go,
conditions.
I'm gonna go with the simple e-app, no phone interview, going right through.
Correct.
And then if I sense there's any difficulty or any confusion at all, then I'm gonna go complete the other route, a full phone app, so I don't have to worry about anything. And that becomes, and it's really, and the reason I say both on that, because if the client's not on any medications and they know how to operate their Google machine, then it's going to be a breeze, and I don't want to have to get on a phone interview and do all that. If if there's medications or quite a bit of them, I'm going to gravitate to most likely a full phone app, just not have to worry about it. So I really like both processes. And the best thing, I love having all of these carriers in our bag because they have a very unique fit. And I write every single one of them, and it depends on the situation. If I was recommending a process, on my opinion, for a brand new person to get out there and start picking up the phone and writing your first app, I would recommend a complete phone app. You don't have to worry about logins. You don't have to worry about passwords. You don't have to worry about email addresses, internet access, submitting applications, not sending the important information documents. Like I would recommend to a brand new person to go complete phone app, and that will teach them the process. They will understand the language of the interviews. They will understand the documents that are there. You will understand the medications and why carriers are asking about medications. You can really learn a lot from that process. What are your all's opinion on that?
So for me, when I'm considering both sides of this, myself and the client, what is easiest for me is not always easiest for the client. And so I have to pick something that's easiest for both. And so for my efficiency, with what's happened and how quickly this transition took place for a lot of agents, having to adapt from field sales to telesales, and then determining which carriers to use. Some of the carriers and even call centers weren't ready. And so while we say yes, it would be great to do a voice app, if the call center is not ready and you're on extended hold times, that exasperates the process. So that's an unintended result of a crisis that we were trying to manage that is not there in normal circumstances. So depending on when you're listening to this episode, it may change the outcome of my statement here. But I don't want to deal with call centers where I'm on hold or I have to do the call within a certain time frame because I'm going to miss the window, and then I got to wait till the next day or Monday to get the business done. So I want to be in control as much as I possibly can. I have really enjoyed the American Amicable product because it is so simple on the e-app side. There's not a lot of requirements. You can do the e-app, get the signature back without the phone interview being required if they're under 70 or under. And now that they've just come out with a voice signature where your client doesn't even need to have an email address, it's probably right at the top of my list as far as ease of doing business. So for me, I want to be in control as much as I possibly can. I want to have all time options open to me, and I don't want to have extended times on the phone getting disclosures and holding and wait times, and I don't want a complicated e-app process. So as simple as possible. So I love the fact that American Amicable is adapted, Columbian's adapted, Prosperity's adapted. So those really, American Amicable and Prosperity are probably at the top, and now Columbian's coming in with their process because of the way that they just adapted. I will definitely be writing
Columbian this week because I want to be able to communicate what that process has been, what that process is like. But yeah, that seems like a big move on their part to jump into this and be more accommodating for clients and agents.
They fall into that third slot because you don't get the instant decision like you do with the other companies. Mm-hmm. So I like that with the other companies. But yeah, they made a major move by making that adjustment. So there's some debate for you, and there's some results.
Yeah, all of these companies are really good and can all be utilized in telesales. That's why they're on this. And we may be doing a round two at some point because, like you said, Chris, I anticipate there be more adaptations from these carriers. I wouldn't be surprised if more carriers add the option to do phone interviews or complete phone apps and have the e-app, or even gravitate towards a hybrid application like Prosperity. So this may change, and we may have to get on here again and juggle these around a bit and talk about the new struggles of some of the new processes and what seemed to be smooth and get through the pipe. But the biggest advice is for me is to make sure you're looking at something that's going to give you a point of sale decision.
The really cool thing that this whole crisis, this pandemic, this coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic has caused is that it has caused innovation with quick response times. And when we say quick, I mean if a carrier was trying to make a change to their application, sometimes it would take months to submit and get approvals. I mean, they're making changes and adaptations quickly. They're getting it approved. I mean, I was just talking to one of the VPs of distribution for one of our main companies just the other day, and they said, Roger, I think this is forcing us all to be better. We're all having to adapt. We're all learning to live in this virtual world, this phone world. And if this happens again, we'll be much better prepared for it. And I think as a result, we have better products now to offer agents to write business with. And so, I wouldn't be surprised that the virtual video tool will be enhanced also. If you can actually do a video call like that may be a new adaptation that's coming, where you can get a lot of just a simple record, submit, and like, why wouldn't they accept that as a face-to-face?
That's a great idea.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if we're not face-to-face right now, we're doing a virtual podcast. We're all in our own home offices, work offices. None of us are in the same room, by the way. And we're all connected. We are face to face. So I wouldn't be surprised if that comes. And so, like Zach said, there's going to be more adaptations and more enhancements, and we will talk about those as they come. But we'd also love to hear from our listeners and what their thoughts are on all this. Some of you are probably listening and you're asking, are they going to be covering some of these same concepts and ideas for, simplified issue term, the UL process, other products for our mortgage leads and clients in that and agents in that space? And yes, we are. We just had to dial in these 2 episodes on the 8 top final expense simplified issue carriers. And so that's where we are. But those are coming. Stay tuned. Keep listening. We want you to stay here because we're going to cover it.
Well, like Roger said, there's so much left to be covered, including the best telesales carriers for mortgage protection. Now, if that's a topic that you have an interest in, or if there's another topic you would like for us to discuss, visit liapodcast.org/feedback and send us your questions and ideas. Next week's episode is our audience submitted show, and we'll be discussing whatever you send in. We're happy to help you with whatever you're struggling with. So definitely fill out that form and let us know. If you would like more information on some of the carriers we discussed this week or last, or if you need a contract for one of these carriers, fill out the form on the show notes page at liapodcast.org/EP17. Again, that's liapodcast.org/EP17. Thank you so much again for listening to the Life Insurance Academy podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to subscribe wherever you're listening, rate us 5 stars, and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Life Insure Acad. The Life Insurance Academy podcast is produced and mixed by me, Austin Lopes-Olvero. Our theme song is by Flashing Lights. We look forward to hearing your questions for next week's audience submitted episode. Until then, stay healthy and go be a difference maker.